It started like any other night shift. Quiet, stale coffee cooling on the desk, the hum of the fluorescent lights filling the silence. And then, the phone rang. On the other end, a man, calm, collected, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. "You'll find her off Highway 44, about 50 feet from the road," he said. "Maybe 60, doesn't matter. You'll see the tire tracks." He spoke like a man reading off directions to a restaurant, polite, precise, and completely emotionless. The dispatcher asked for his name. He didn't give one. She asked if he'd seen the body. He paused, then said, "Yes, you could say that." Before she could ask another question, the line went dead. Just silence. But the directions, they were too specific to ignore. Within the hour, 2 patrol cars were on the road. They followed the call exactly, down a rural highway outside Redding, California, a stretch of land no one drove at night. At first, they saw nothing, just darkness and dirt. Then the light caught something pale in the grass, a hand. When they pulled back the brush, they found her. The man on the phone hadn't lied. He'd given them a map straight to the body. But he wasn't just a helpful witness trying to do the right thing. He was something much darker. Because that phone call wasn't the first, and it wouldn't be the last. In the months that followed, he would call again and again, each time leading police to another victim, each time describing the scene like he'd been there, because he had. He called himself a tipster, but the police would come to know him by another name. In the mid-1980s, Redding, California, was the kind of quiet place where everyone seemed to know everyone else. The kind of town where the biggest news of the week might be a lost dog or a bake sale at the community church. It sat tucked between pine forests and the winding Sacramento River, far enough from big city crime to feel safe, but close enough to hear about it on the evening news. Families left their doors unlocked. Kids rode their bikes down country roads until dark. And people believed that bad things, really bad things, didn't happen here. But by 1985, that sense of safety was beginning to crack. There were whispers about women going missing, one here, another there. Most people brushed it off. "She probably ran away," they'd say. "Moved to Sacramento, started over." Police were understaffed, the county spread thin, and in those days before cell phones and DNA, a person could vanish without leaving much behind, except maybe a few footprints and questions nobody could answer. Still, the community trusted the system. If something went wrong, they could always call Secret Witness, a tip line that promised anonymity, protection, and a little reward money for helping solve a crime. It was supposed to make people feel safer, a hotline for the honest citizens of Shasta County, a way to speak up without fear. But what no one realized then was that the phone meant to catch killers had become their favorite way to talk. Because somewhere out there, a man was listening to every radio alert, reading every headline, and waiting for the right moment to pick up the phone. He didn't just want to watch the investigation unfold. He wanted to control it, to play God in a small town that didn't even know the devil was living among them. For 12 years, Shirley Landruth had been the steady voice on the other end of Shasta County's secret witness hotline. She'd heard it all: drug tips, theft reports, missing pets, even pranks from bored teenagers. Her job was simple: listen, take notes, and never ask for names. The promise of the line was anonymity. People could tell the truth and never fear who might be listening. But in the spring of 1985, one call would change everything. It came in just after dark. The man's tone was calm, almost businesslike. He said he knew where a missing woman's body could be found. 48-year-old Avril Deanna Whedon, who had vanished weeks earlier. He spoke quickly, giving exact distances from the road, in both feet and meters. He seemed confident, too confident. And before hanging up, he asked one question. "How much is the reward?" Landruth told him the amount. Then, click, the line went dead. Hours later, police followed the directions. They found Whedon's body buried under debris near Bocelli Lane and South Bonneview Road, just like he said. Her skull was fractured. She had been strangled. The caller became obsessed after that. Over the next 2 years, he rang Shirley more than 20 times. Sometimes he claimed to know who the killer was. Sometimes he called just to gloat. He said the man's name was Robert, or maybe Bob. He described how Whedon had been killed with a 6 to 8 inch rock, details no one else could possibly know. Each time, his voice was the same, fast, pushy, sharp at the ends of sentences. And though the line promised secrecy, Shirley couldn't shake the feeling that she knew this voice. It haunted her. The cadence, the coldness, the way he spoke like he was recalling something he'd done 100 times. She began recording the calls in secret, something she'd never done before. By 1986, the man wasn't just calling about murders anymore. He started phoning in tips about burglaries, even asking for immunity in the Whedon case. He was taunting her, playing both sides of the game. But what Shirley didn't know yet was that her mysterious caller wasn't just a man fascinated with crime. He was the crime. And he was only getting started. Avril Deanna Whedon was the kind of woman who kept to herself. At 48, she lived a quiet life in Reading, renting out rooms in her small home on Bocelli Lane. Her tenants came and went, college kids, drifters, workers passing through. One of them was a man named Edward Maury. She was known as polite, careful, dependable. So when she suddenly stopped answering calls and missed rent collections in late May 1985, her friends grew worried. Police interviewed Maury, her tenant, who denied knowing anything. The trail went cold. Weeks passed, and then, out of nowhere, a voice called the Shasta County Secret Witness Hotline. It was a man, calm, precise. He said he knew where Avril Whedon's body was, and that he'd share the location, for a price. The caller demanded reward money before giving directions. Shirley Landruth, the operator, could feel something off. The way his words clipped, the eerie confidence in his tone. Still, she took down the details. He told her, off Bocelli Lane, near South Bonneview, by the brush, you'll find her. When investigators followed his map, they found her, partially buried, wrapped in cardboard and trash. The autopsy showed she'd been beaten, her skull fractured, and strangled. She'd been dead for nearly a month. And then came the final twist. The secret witness program mailed the $250 reward to the anonymous caller, the man whose directions had led them straight to Avril Whedon's grave. They had just paid the killer to find his own victim. For nearly 2 years, the voice vanished. No tips, no calls, no bodies. But in the summer of 1987, he came back. He sounded calmer this time, almost practiced, as if he'd done this before. 2 women, both from Reading, vanished within days of each other. 20-year-old Dawn Marie Berryhill and 30-year-old Belinda Jo Stark. Friends said they'd last been seen with the same man, a middle-aged drifter with a beard and a quiet stare. The description wasn't much to go on. But to the woman answering the secret witness line, Shirley Landruth, it was enough. The phone rang again. The same voice, the same rhythm. Fast, precise, demanding money before revealing anything. "I know where she is, south of Keswick Dam, near the tracks. There's a reward, right?" Just like before, his directions were exact. Search teams followed every word. And there, near the riverbank, they found Dawn Berryhill, beaten and strangled, her body dumped in a shallow grave. Days later, another call, another set of coordinates. This time it led to Belinda Jo Stark. She was found in nearly the same condition. To the public, it looked like a miracle, an anonymous citizen helping police solve murders. But to Shirley Landruth, it was a nightmare replaying itself. She had heard that voice before. The short bursts of speech, the sharp way he hung up. She was certain this was the same man who led them to Averil Whedon. She began to wonder, was their best informant also their killer? The call came in just after sunrise. The man's tone was calm, clipped, businesslike. He said there was a body off Palm Avenue in a clearing near the power lines. He even gave the exact coordinates. Detectives marked the spot. When they arrived, they found Belinda Jo Stark, 30 years old, strangled, partially covered with branches and trash. She'd been missing for 3 weeks. Her killer hadn't just hidden her. He'd left her to be found. Exactly where he wanted, exactly when he wanted. Then, a few weeks later, another call. "You missed one. Go back." 250 yards from the last one. They returned to the same field. 250 yards from where Belinda was found. They uncovered another woman. It was Dawn Marie Berryhill, just 20 years old. Her body lay beneath a thin layer of dirt. The same pattern, the same cause of death, the same staging. He wasn't just finding them, he was arranging them. And each time the police followed his directions, the same man called back, polite, insistent, asking when he'd receive his reward. They mailed him checks, $250 here, $300 there. They were paying the killer to guide them through his own graveyard. And with each call, his voice grew bolder, as if he wanted them to know. The helpful witness wasn't helping at all. He was performing. After years of dead ends, detectives finally had a name. Edward Maury, the man who called in every clue, every detail, every body. Now they just had to prove it. Police quietly watched him for weeks. And then, when Maury picked up his latest reward check for leading them to Stark and Berryhill, they followed. He drove straight to a motorcycle shop in downtown Reading. The moment he cashed the check, he handed the money over the counter. With the reward money from his victims' discoveries, Edward Maury bought himself a brand new Honda Shadow. The irony wasn't lost on detectives. The helpful citizen was literally funding his lifestyle through murder. Meanwhile, investigators brought in Shirley Landruth. After years of hearing that same anonymous voice, they asked her to listen to the recorded calls one last time. When the tape ended, she didn't hesitate. "That's him," she said. "That's Edward Maury." The voice that had haunted her for years finally had a face. And in the end, the tipster couldn't help himself. He'd tipped off his own arrest. On a quiet October night in 1987, detectives finally made their move. They arrived at Edward Maury's home, the same house where he'd once lived as a tenant of his first victim, Averil Whedon. When they took him into custody, even the officers could hardly believe it. The man who had helped them solve 3 brutal murders was the one who had committed them. During interrogation, Maury denied everything. He claimed he was just a good Samaritan who wanted to collect a few rewards. But detectives had his fingerprints. His voice matched the recordings, and multiple witnesses placed him with both Stark and Berryhill before they vanished. The calm, calculated caller had finally been cornered. In court, he refused to stay quiet. He shouted at prosecutors, argued with the judge, and insisted he would walk free in 80 days. At one point, he demanded to defend himself, convinced that no one could outsmart him. But the evidence told another story. After months of testimony, the jury found Robert Maury guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder for Avril Whedon, Belinda Jo Stark, and Dawn Berryhill. He was sentenced to death in 1989. One prosecutor called him, quote, "a diabolical killer, a man who murdered for profit and thought he couldn't be caught. For years, he'd hidden in plain sight. A killer disguised as a helper. A man who phoned in his own crimes and got paid to do it." Today, Robert Maury sits on death row at San Quentin State Prison. It's been decades since his arrest. He's never confessed. He still claims he was just trying to help, just a man who wanted justice for a price. Over the years, detectives have quietly suggested there may be more victims. Unsolved murders with the same calling card, the same voice on the hotline, the same cold precision. He even called in tips about murders that weren't his, or maybe they were. Robert Maury turned murder into a game, one where every phone call bought him more time, more money, more attention. Each call a performance, each body a script he wrote himself. But in the end, the voice that led police to the dead led them straight to him. Because sometimes, the person who helps you find the bodies is the one putting them there.